All right, Eagles fans, we got to talk. I'm going to preference this by saying I am 21 years old and I am a lifelong Eagles fan. I've been a fan since I was roughly 5 or 6 years old. The team is in a weird state right now, and I want to address the fan base. I feel like there's a massive divide right now, and we all can feel this. We all know this if we're on social media or anything. Check any of the comments, any post, anything about the Eagles. It's a 50-50 split, I feel like. There are people that are wanting the Eagles to do well and stick with Carson, and then I feel like there's the other half that just want to see Carson fail and are wishing death threats on him, wishing all these kind of crazy things. I just want to say, regardless of the decision that the Eagles make, I'm just some kid from Indiana. What do I know? They get paid to do this stuff. But I want to plead my case as to why I think Carson Wentz is the quarterback that the Eagles should stick with. And when I say all this stuff, I'm not wishing for Jalen Hurts to do bad in any way possible. If they choose for him, I'm going to root for him. I want him to do well. I'm not wishing anything bad on anyone. I just feel like there's a lot of things that people are not looking at that are pretty obvious to show that Carson is not to blame for all of the issues that the Eagles are having currently. I want to start going into the stats with looking at Doug Peterson specifically. So not even just with him with the Eagles, I want to look at him back when he was with the Chiefs. So Doug Peterson was the offensive coordinator for the Chiefs from 2013 to 2015, and I'm going to pop up the 2013 statistics. And as we're looking at the stats here, the Chiefs had the 6th-ranked offense in the league back in 2013. They went 11-5, of course, coached by Andy Reid. And looking at their statistics, it's not bad. It's a good first year. They ended up losing in the playoffs to the Colts in an amazing game. But we're going to see a trend here. The next year, in 2014, the offense slumps down to 16th in the league, and they ended up going 9-7. They didn't make the playoffs, and the offense struggled. They did have the 2nd-ranked defense in the league, which helped them tremendously during this season. Now we jump to 2015, and the offense at the helm by Doug Peterson was ranked 9th in the league, and they lost 30-0 to the Texans in the playoffs. They went 11-5 on the season. Not bad. But again, the offense, ups and downs. Now we jump to Doug Peterson as the head coach of the Philadelphia Eagles for the very first time. The 2016 Eagles went 7-9 with the 16th ranked offense in the league. Now, of course, we all know this as Carson Wentz's rookie year. There were a lot of different things. I went to their game against the Bengals over in Ohio. They struggled. But it was, of course, Doug Peterson's first year as the head coach and Carson Wentz getting adjusted to the system as the offensive coordinator in Frank Wright. That is going to be a key process in this as well. Good old Frankie. We jump over to the infamous 2017 season where we all know the Eagles won the Super Bowl. Now, if you're looking at the regular season, the Eagles went 13-3, and they had the 3rd-ranked offense and 4th-ranked defense out of the entire NFL. Carson Wentz had a MVP season until he had the terrible knee injury that caused all of these issues, in my opinion, in the first place. And you can look at this season and say, oh, great, Doug Peterson is great. He's a great head coach. Yes, as a head coach, I agree he is a great head coach, but he wasn't the one making the play call. It was Frank Wright, which we will get into a little bit more later. Frank Wright found the way to get this offense, Carson Wentz, and get the best out of him, which, as we all know, is an MVP. And I know a lot of fans, or quote fans, like to point out, oh, it was Doug Peterson that called the best play in NFL's Super Bowl history with the Philly special. Well, if you would have listened, it wasn't Doug to make that call.
You want Philly? Yeah, let's do it.
Jumping over to the 2018 season where Frank Wright was taken on as the head coach for the Indianapolis Colts and left the Philadelphia Eagles. So Mike Groh has come in as the offensive coordinator, and we're going to see some decline here. They had the 18th ranked offense in the league and went 9-7 in the 2018 season. The Super Bowl hangover was real. Carson had a regular season for him with only throwing 7 picks with at least a 3-to-1 TD interception ratio in every season besides his rookie and this current season. So we're going to be like, it's new. We're not doing the same things. It's going to be a little bit of a learning curve because Frank Wright is no longer the offensive coordinator. We have a new offensive coordinator in there. We jump to the 2019 season where Doug Peterson, still the head coach, Mike Gross, still the offensive coordinator, but Doug Peterson starts to take a little bit more role in the play calling for the team. They have the 12th ranked offense and the 15th ranked defense in the league, and they went 9-7 again. And we all know this as the infamous season that Carson Wentz is the only quarterback in NFL history to throw for 4,000 yards without having a receiver over 500 yards. I feel like people forget that. Then we jump into the 2020 season where Mike Groh is now gone. Little side note, Mike Groh is no longer a high-up coach in the NFL. He is now a wide receivers coach for the Indianapolis Colts under Frank Wright. The 2020 Colts, he's the receiver coach. Mike Groh is. They don't have a single receiver above 600 yards currently on December 16th. Shows the effectiveness of Mike Groh. We jump into the 2020 Philadelphia Eagles that we are all here just trying to figure out and understand. They have the 26th ranked offense in the league, and now, of course, Doug Peterson has decided to take on the play calling duties by himself. Of course, he has his assistants, but we all know Doug Peterson is the one making the head coach and the offensive coordinator calls for the team. They are 4-8-1, and we've all seen the struggles. We know what the struggles are this year. Looking at Carson's numbers, 16 touchdowns, 15 interceptions. Now, a lot of people I've seen have jumped off the bandwagon, or the Wentz wagon, if you would, and said, he's terrible, he's trash, he's gone, he's never good, all of this. I'm a psychology student. I just graduated with my bachelor's in psychology. Research psychology, we look at things like this, when he's had 7 interceptions in his last 3 seasons, 15 this season. Statistically, that is called an outlier. That is not the norm. That is not the average. That is an outlier. To take Carson Wentz's career based off of one outlier season, to me, is beyond dumb. To look at him, especially with the things he's had around him, which I'm going to get into, it's not an excuse. It's not trying to make up for his bad play because he has played bad. But to look at this one season alone and disregard what he has done for this team, his entire career, what he has had to deal with specifically with what's been put around him, the play calling, and the city of Philadelphia and its fan base and how it has treated him, I think is beyond dumb. Like I mentioned, we're going to get into Carson Wentz's stats. For his career, besides his rookie year and this year, he has had a minimum of a 3-to-1 touchdown to interception ratio. Again, his MVP season, before it got cut short, 33 touchdowns to 7 interceptions. And I'm not trying to live into the past, I'm just stating facts. The 2018 season, 21 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. And he didn't even play all the games. 11 games played. 11. Then we jump to last season, where his number 1 receiver was Greg Ward Jr. 4,000 yards passing, not a single receiver over 500 receiving yards. And people want to say, I've seen a lot of people say that his completion percentage is god-awful. His career completion percentage is 62.7. Would you say that's good? Because, I mean, the NFL average, it's right on par with that. It's good. It is a good completion percentage. And again, if you want to look at it, he's been above 60% his whole career, except this season. Again, an outlier. And I understand your frustration. I am frustrated as well. This team is not what we wanted it to be and not what we thought it would be. The Philadelphia Eagles in 2020 are a dumpster fire. I do not feel it's okay to pin the blame specifically on Carson when for the past 2 seasons he has had to carry this team on his back, and their success has been 100% derived from what he does. And look what he's done. He has carried a terrible surrounding cast full of third stringers, practice squad guys, and a completely shuffling team of offensive line receivers, running backs, and defense. He's been the one constant. I've seen a lot of people on Twitter say that he hasn't proven anything. He's not good because he hasn't won a single playoff game. Okay, I would like to point this out there. I would like for you to win a drag race in a 1992 Honda Civic 4-cylinder against a 1,000 horsepower Dodge Challenger. It's not a fair fight, really. Are you going to blame the person driving the Civic because they couldn't win the race? Because their surrounding cast and what they were working with was not near up to par with what the opponent's was? Are you going to blame that? Oh, it's driving talent. The person just didn't drive correctly. They weren't as good of a driver. Come on. Does that make sense? No, it doesn't. And yes, quarterbacks are supposed to elevate what's around them. But there is a ceiling to what you can elevate with what you're working with. We've seen it plenty of times in the NFL. A Cinderella story team can be taken so far, and occasionally it works. But for the vast majority of it, your quarterback can only do as much as his team will allow him to do. He's not the one throwing to himself. He's not running it by himself. He is not pass blocking by himself. The defense is not being held up by Carson Wentz. He is not the leader of the defense. To look at this team and say that every issue they have can be fixed if Jalen Hurts comes into play instead of Carson Wentz is the most idiotic thing I've heard in my entire life. That is ignoring every issue this team has by putting a Band-Aid over it. And yes, I would love to see what Jalen Hurts can do because the Eagles used a second-round pick on him. I do not know why. He got beaten out in the national championship game by Tua. And if you look at the game that he played against the Saints, yeah, he played well. But look at his stats. I believe it was 17 of 30 for 164 yards passing and a touchdown. Congrats. That's what Wentz was doing all year, and he got reamed for it. Oh, but he ran the ball really, really well. He did everything with his legs. That's what opened up Miles Sanders to run the ball. Let's take a look at what mobile quarterbacks tend to be in this league. The shelf life of a mobile quarterback, we all know, is a lot shorter than what a regular pocket passing quarterback is. You want some examples? Philly, we know a great one. Another one that's pretty close to home, I think we all can agree, is one of the biggest busts of all time because he didn't catch up his arm to what his legs were. You want another example? Take an MVP to barely being good enough to be the second quarterback on the Patriots. How come? Injuries. The same thing Carson Wentz is vilified for by getting hurt too often. He's not running the ball like Hurts, but when he did run the ball as much as he could like Hurts, everyone was telling him, you can't do that, your career will be over too soon. But now when another quarterback steps in and he does it, it's the greatest thing since sliced bread. I don't understand Philly fans. I really don't. And I want nothing but the best for the Philadelphia Eagles. But I'm here to say, if the Philadelphia Eagles move on from Carson Wentz, it'll be the worst decision in this franchise's history. Just as bad as not getting Reggie White back. And I mean that. I really do. Carson Wentz is an MVP caliber player every time he steps on the field. You can't expect even the greats to do good with nothing around them. And if you don't believe me, we can just take a look at the most vilified player besides Wentz, I feel like, in Eagles history, and what he's done since he left the Eagles. Nelson Aguilar is having his best statistical season since the 2017 season where they won the Super Bowl. And who was the offensive Oh, yeah, Frank Wright. Who was the MVP winner, basically, until he got hurt? And the quarterback of the team. Oh, yeah, Carson Wentz. Oh, it's not just him. Sidney Jones, the amazing cornerback that the Eagles took, and then somehow he just wasn't working out in our system. Had 2 picks for his whole career. Couldn't stay healthy. He has 2 picks this season. He's matched his career total, and the season's not even over. He was ranked top 10 in corners by Pro Football Focus most of this year. If you can look at any of these statistics and say that the Eagles are not the issue when it comes to these players getting their best potential, I don't know what to tell you. The numbers speak for itself. But when you look at numbers and you look with your eye test, as Skip Bayless always likes to say, there's more than just meets the surface. This team is only as good as what is around Carson Wentz. Because Carson Wentz can elevate, but he's not a magic worker. There have been times through this season I honestly want Carson to be traded because he deserves better in this fan base. The dude has done nothing. He's never once said a bad word about a single player on the team, a coach, nothing. He's always put his head down, went back to work, said, I'm going to fix it. I'm going to do better. And he's been told he needs to die, that he's the worst player in NFL history. He's the biggest bust in NFL history. The Eagles should have never drafted him. He's garbage. He should die. Like I said, I don't get it. This man has done nothing but work his ass off for this franchise. And Philly fans hate him for it. He doesn't deserve it. He deserves to go to a team like Indy. Go to another team that is ready to make the best of Carson Wentz. Not throw him out there and see what happens and then use him as the scapegoat. Because I think that's what Doug Peterson has decided to do. I feel like I'm going to get blasted for this in comments. But you know what? This is a PSA to all Philadelphia Eagles fans.